Hi, everybody. It's Sunday afternoon, time for another episode of PoliTarology with me, Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. I don't have a big list of questions today. It's been a quiet news day, actually, but I just wanted to do some reads, and I'll definitely take questions in the chat if you want me to read on certain things. But I wanted to start out with just looking at what the month of August would bring for certain individuals. So we can look at Dumpy, we can look at Vance, we can look at Musk. Why not? Could look at Mikey Johnson if we want to. And anything else you guys, or anyone else that you guys want me to look at, I could do that. But I'm going to start out with that. And then as we see more questions in the chat, Sherry's backstage and she will be starting them. And yeah, so there we go. So what does this want me to do? Hold on a second. What is that? I don't know what's going on with this. I am getting these. Sorry about that. I hope you didn't get blasted by that. I'm getting these pop-ups from Facebook, which sometimes I do stream on Facebook, some of these shows, but Facebook consistently gets dropped by StreamYard, and it's a pain in the butt, frankly, to keep reconnecting it. But also I'm getting these pop-ups telling me that I have a Zoom show for PoliTarology. I don't do this show on Zoom. I do it on StreamYard, and StreamYard sends it directly to YouTube. So I don't know what's going on with all these pop-ups because I don't usually get them, but sorry about the interruption. Okay, so let's look at, Bondi. That's a good one. Let's look at Bondi. And how about Alina Haba and see what's going on with that? Her stuff. Okay, so we got quite a few people to read on for August. So first things first, let's just get these cards shuffled. And I don't think these are the right cards for Dumpy. I'm going to change decks here. Right off the bat, I'm changing decks. All right, so we're going to be looking at Dumpy, the esteemed person who sits in the Oval Office, who's currently in Scotland. And boy, I don't think they're very happy with him in Scotland. I know that he's been viewing lots of protesters against him and also against Keir Starmer of England, who is also there. And I don't know if he's playing golf with Dumpy or what, but they're meeting. Ursula von der Leyen from the European Commission also met with him, and they supposedly brokered some sort of a deal for the European she doesn't really represent the European Union per se, but she represents all the European countries in an organization called the European Council, I think, or Commission. I can't remember. It's a C, right? EC is what she represents. And they were talking about tariffs for all of the European countries, and they settled on a 15%. It's not going to start for a little while. And yeah, like that. Okay. So Dumpy is going to continue to stay in Scotland if he stays. He loves to leave all these things early, but if he stays, he's at least going to be there until Tuesday or Wednesday, because on Tuesday, I think, is when he's opening a third golf course in Scotland at Aberdeen, where I think Aberdeen. And the one he just opened was Aberdeenshire. And so, I don't know. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. What president stops the business of the United States to go open a golf course? I mean, what's wrong with this picture? A lot. Okay. All right. So let's see what's going to be happening for Dumpy in August. What will be happening for him? What will his challenges be? How will the month kind of end up for him? Because August is going to lead us right up to Labor Day weekend, and that's when I believe we're right on the cusp of the eclipses. I believe the eclipses are, I don't know, I'll just look that up really quick because I think that's important. And I want, it's either, I think it's September 6th or September 2nd. I can't quite remember. but I can find out very quickly. Solar and lunar eclipses. Here we go. That should be coming up. Oh, and of course now it's just spinning slow. Okay. Susie, cat person from Baltimore. Why does Scotland even allow him to be in their country and build his golf courses? Is Scotland stupid or something? I don't know. I have the same question. Let's read on that. Why does Scotland allow him in the country? Okay, so the eclipses in September are... Where did it go? I slid right past 2025. I was looking at dates for 2026. That would have really freaked everybody out. Because in 2026, the eclipses are in August. So just so you know, if you're an early bird, that's when they're coming. I was off by a day. It's September 7th, which is a Sunday. That's the total lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Pisces. And on September 21st, 2 weeks later, it will be a partial solar eclipse in Virgo at 28 degrees. The last few degrees of Virgo, right on my Mercury. Thanks very much, eclipses. Thank you. Okay, so Donald Trump, Mr. Dumpy, what will the month of August bring for him? What could be happening for him? Will he have new health challenges? Will he have amazing publicity and become the nominee, the overwhelming nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize? Who knows? So let's see. Let's get a few shuffles in here. Okay, doke. My daughter and I were planning our agenda, our itinerary for Salem, which we're going up in the second weekend in August. I'm so excited for her birthday. And now my other daughter is also going to be able to join us for 2 days on that 4-day trip. So I'm really happy about that. She really wanted to come, but she couldn't take off work. Okay, here we go. What's up for Dumpy? Let's turn these around. Ah, yes, my little friend, Mr. Dumpster. What is in for you? What kind of wonderful things will happen to you in August? Okie doke. So let's look at this. Okay, so I want to put this down. There we go. All right. So here is the Dumpy in August. He's a fool. He's just doing foolish things. He's basically doing things that feel good for him to do at this point in his life. And we get the Fool. So he's just, for one thing, just flying internationally is not good for him. It's not good for people who have problems with sitting for a long time, who have problems with circulation. It's not good. And if you're older and you have any kind of issues with your liquid balances, like you tend to be dehydrated or you have high blood pressure or something like that, that's also really not good, being on the plane a lot. And he's on the plane. That's just not going to be good. Now, what crosses him is the Two of Cups. So this means that his relationships are askew. Plus, it is Mercury retrograde. So he is not going to, the things that he thinks he's communicating really, really, really well, because he thinks he does everything really well, are probably not going to be that great. And basically anything that you negotiate or sign in with Mercury retrograde is going to probably have to be redone. Let me rephrase that. It's going to have to be redone. You may think it's going forward and it's redone at a later date, much later, maybe months later, but it's going to be redone. So not great for him, because all of that stuff with the tariffs and with Ursula von der Leyen, yeah, probably not really going to come to pass. And you know how he loves to say in 2 weeks or whatever. Well, he said August 1st, but you know, it's probably not going to come to pass. What is at the base is the Four of Wands. So, you know, he previously was able to handle these things and do everything that he wanted to do from Mar-a-Lago. I think this is a Mar-a-Lago card. So this is just saying that he's behaving like a fool because he's behaving as if he is in Mar-a-Lago, the Southern White House, um, where you don't really do the American people's business. That isn't right. And so now he's doing America's business from a golf course. That's not right either. So really bad on his part, as they would say in England. Bad form, old chap. Not great form for him. Now, in the recent past, he gets the Page of Wands. So this is him making all sorts of kind of silly announcements because we know how he loves to distract in the news. And so I'm thinking that he's setting up August to be more of this. This is what he's going to be doing in August, trying to redo these negotiations that don't work, behaving like a fool, taking risks with his health, taking risks with our economic health, just not great. Now, what crowns him, what he thinks is really going to come out of this is it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I've done it before. I can do it again. So we have the Page of Pentacles there, and he's just looking at all the bright, shiny objects. And also, don't put it past him that every little thing that he's doing on this trip somehow is going to pay him. Mm-hmm. The golf courses. People who are coming to the golf course are paying fees. People who are joining the course as a member or joining the club as a member, those are paying fees. Those are going directly to him. I mean, are his sons a part of it? Well, his sons are there helping him open, doing ribbon cutting and whatnot. But do they really have a financial stake in it? I don't know. Somebody would have to research that because I wouldn't put it past DJT to just say, boys, you're coming with me. We're all cutting ribbons, because he likes that show of force, that show of Trump unity, Trump family. Where's Ivanka? She's the real business head in the family, and she's not there. What's coming up for his future is the Queen of Wands. No, Ursula von der Leyen's not a Queen of Wands. She's a Libra. She's Queen of Air. Queen of Wands would be a fire sign woman. So I'm not quite sure who that is. It could also be his fire persona, which is, all the fire. He has a Sag rising. So all the fire, I think he has a Sag rising. So all the fire that he has in his chart is really responding to this Queen of Wands energy, and is really, he's planning different things because he wasn't successful. So he's having to plan them. I'm just going to pull up his chart. I can't keep people's charts in my heads when I'm doing readings. It's like two different sets of connections. Okay, so let me just get in here and see what his chart is. DJT. There we go. So I know he's a Gemini, but no, he does have Leo rising. Okay, not Sagittarius, but he has Leo rising. His moon is Sagittarius. Okay, that's where I got the Sag. So this guy, the Mercury is going through his first house right now. So he is particularly bedeviled by Mercury retrograde. Plus, it's pretty close to his Pluto, which is going to exaggerate it. Not like a Jupiter exaggeration, like a Pluto exaggeration. Like he's not going to really notice until it's too late. Kind of devastation. So he's got Mercury, playing havoc in his first house. And by now, Mercury went retrograde at 15 Leo. I think it's going backwards, and it could, let's see, how many days has it been? It hasn't been that many days, but it could be closing in on that Pluto. And that's a pretty devastating combo. That's devastating decisions. What else do I see here? This moon in Sag is like 20 degrees Sag or something. Yeah, 21 degrees Sag. So Mercury, yeah, it's in a trine, but it's not really helping him because it's a little bit out of orb to be able to help him. But also, he just doesn't listen to anybody else. So there is no help for him. He's just going to do what he wants to do. All right, so this Queen of Wands, I don't really know what's happening with this energy, but I do feel that it's a more covert energy. While he may be getting angry, that's probably what it is. He's getting angry. That's the fire energy. He's getting mad that things are not going to be going the way he wants. And this is overall in August. He's going to be angry about that stuff, but I don't think he's going to be able to take steps to really resolve it. His, see, where's this other thing here? Okay. So he sees that he's really hung up. He sees that he's really not able to make any progress. And other people just see him as confused because they're seeing his dementia. They're seeing the addled brain, the non-cognitive brain happening and operating in front of them, in front of the cameras, in the news, in the press conferences. He's not making sense. He's not making really good decisions. And that reflects badly on our country. That damages us, and that makes things for us probably more expensive, probably harder to obtain. The supply chain may be hindered, and certain products just won't be available that we want to use and buy. And even if we could buy them, they're going to be a lot more expensive. So not really good for us overall. What are his hopes and fears? He just has a lot of hopes and fears. He knows that this is not going well, and it's his emotions that are getting the better of him. As he gets more debilitated with his conditions, as he gets worse, he gets more angry. And this is really typical of people who have both dementia and Alzheimer's, that their reaction is to get pissed off because they can't do the things they want to do. In most people, it's not so much that they're not getting what they want, although there's some of that. But in him, not getting what he wants is kind of a nuclear explosion because he's so used to it that he at first really can't fathom it. And then he gets even more angry about that. So he has this big anger thing building up. And in August, the end card is the Eight of Swords. So is he going somewhere in August? Is he leaving? Is he deciding to move out of the White House and just relocate to Mar-a-Lago permanently? Well, Mar-a-Lago in August is probably a hellhole, so maybe he'd relocate to Bedminster and wait for the weather to cool down and then go down to Mar-a-Lago. We could read on that. Yeah, we could read on that. That's really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to take a sip of water and we're going to go on to Vance, and I'm going to take a peek at the starred comments. Okay. It's like the cards know it's hot out. They just don't want to come back in line. Like they all just want to not flow easily back together into the deck. Boy. Okay, let me look at the starred questions. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's look at. Let me go back up on these because some of these are pretty good. Let's read on Pam Bondi. So Pam Bondi has taken a little breather. She is I don't know if she's taking like a formal leave of absence, but she's kind of taken a few sick days to recover from that torn cornea. So what's going on with that, and what's going to happen with her in August? Is she going to have to step down? That would really be, wow, who would he get? Emile Bove? Ooh, he's terrible. So what's going to happen with Pam Bondi? Will she recover from her torn cornea? And will she return to the DOJ? And will she stay there? She's a Scientologist? Oh, she's multi-cultish. Thank you, Raymond. Wow. So she's used to just like buying the big lie. She's just really good at that. Wow. That's very interesting. Pam Bondi, what does August bring for you? Okay. Pam Bondi, what does August bring for you? Wow. Okay. Now, I believe that she is a Scorpio. So she will probably keep things pretty close to her chest, but these are not, I don't think these are great cards for her, but let's see what we got for her. Okay. So we start out with the Knight of Wands. So this is a person who's going to take action swiftly and loudly and bigly, big action. So even though she's recovering, apparently she's going to come out fighting before the 1st of August or on the 1st of August and really do something, take some kind of an action, like maybe another subpoena for somebody or some big announcement of an investigation or something like that. She's going to take some big action. And what crosses her is the Five of Swords. So I don't know, what if she takes an action that is against what Dumpy actually really wants? I wouldn't be surprised, because I think if she is going to leave, I would think that they would orchestrate it, that she and Dumpy and probably Stephen Miller and who knows who else, Susie Wiles, they would orchestrate the leaving to make it somewhat plausible, I guess. They're not, nothing they do is plausible. Everything they do is kind of ridiculous. So the Five of Swords just shows me that there's a little bullying going on, a little negative action, conflict going on, but bullying, really bullying. And usually she's the bully. And if she is in multi-cults, if she's both a Scientologist and we'll call it an Epsteinologist and a magologist, then she just doesn't have very much credibility, does she? I mean, the things that she truly believes are just, I'm just going to say it, horseshit. They're just, none of them are true. But she believes the dear leader. And I do think that Bondi was on the fringe and somehow involved in the Epstein activity. I'll just call it the activity. And probably much later, much more at the end of the game, probably even after Maxwell was gone from the Epstein orbit. So I do think she's connected somehow. There have been rumblings in the news about her brother being involved somehow. If the brother was involved and she was wasn't she the Florida AG at the time of Epstein receiving his sweetheart deal? I mean, she's connected to him in more than one way. I'm sure of it. The Queen of Wands also shows up here as at the basis of the matter. So I think, again, I'm going to say, between the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Wands, I'm going to say, if she leaves, and I'm pretty sure she will, if she leaves her post, it will be orchestrated so that there'll be some sort of public disagreement not a big embarrassing thing where they're, fighting and yelling and screaming at each other, but there will be some public disagreement where when she tenders her resignation, we all believe it and we all say, oh, yeah, of course she had to leave because what else is she going to do? She looks like an idiot, or she went against him and he's going to blackball her or whatever. And the thing is that Pam Bondi, and I've said this before about her, Pam Bondi still has her law license. And as long as she has that law license, it's going to be a lot easier for her to get a job when she's done with Dumpy's regime. If she loses her law license while under that regime, that makes it a million times harder for her to get another job. Then she is relegated to like probably only working for people like the Heritage Foundation or something. So I think her motivation would be to get out while she still has a law license rather than be totally smeared by the whole Trump experience and not be able to work again. So that's what I'm saying. And I think the Queen of Wands backs that up because even though there's action being taken, it's a queen. So it's going to be more covert action. Or maybe this is even just her decision making process. Maybe that's the action, is that she's just making decisions based on what she knows will fly in the public and what won't fly in the public and what will serve her best so that she can continue to have employment when she leaves the Trump regime. In the past, we have the Hierophant, and we know that, she's involved with the government. She is the government right now, but she also was involved in Florida in the government. So, she knows how the levers of power work, and she knows how to use them. And she's not going to forget that. She's going to understand how to do all that. However, she's very confused right now about what's going to happen. What shows up in the top? Seven of Cups. I mean, how many questions can you have about your future? Many. She has many, many questions about her future, and she does not really know how things are going to play out. So this is not great for her. August is not a great month for her. It's not really happening. Now, what comes up right in front of her is the Ace of Cups. So what does that mean? This means that somebody rides in to save her. It could be a Peter Thiel with a new employment thing. It could be Elon Musk, but I think Peter Thiel would be more palatable, or somebody from the Heritage Foundation, or somebody from right-wing media. There could be somebody who's out there MAGA adjacent that she could go to, so she wouldn't be totally, throwing it up in DJT's face. But I think she's going to take a sideways step to get out from under there and try to save herself as far as being able to be employed. That's what I really think is the theme here. What does she think? She thinks that, everybody that she works for is in love with her. She's a Scorpio. She has that kind of sex appeal thing going on, and she really thinks that she's using it to her advantage. I hate to tell her that she's one of 10,000 women who look exactly like her in that MAGA orbit, and they all think the same thing, and it's not really working for any of them. Okay, how do others perceive what's going on? They see that she's a bankrupt entity. She does not say what's right, what's true. She doesn't say what she means. She covers things up. She lies for the leader. She's not an honest broker on any level in any arena. So again, she has to think about how she's going to be employed. Now, she doesn't perceive this. This is what other people are perceiving of her. So that's why I'm saying she's going to have to go to some sort of MAGA adjacent organization or a MAGA adjacent person and would just work for them directly. So somebody, not necessarily Peter Thiel, but somebody high up, very wealthy, who would need like another lawyer or another assistant or something like that. She could go and work for somebody like that. And, very few questions asked about the background and, are you going to be able to keep your law license or not? Very few questions, but she still has the knowledge. She can still give advice, just not call it legal advice, I guess. But anyway, so Judgment is her final outcome. Judgment. So this judgment could be coming from DJT. I don't think she's getting arrested right yet. I think she will eventually, but right now, It's just the judgment. So wouldn't that be a kicker if what came out of this Ghislaine Maxwell stuff is not something about victims of Epstein and Maxwell, but something about the mishandling of Epstein's legal case and that sweetheart deal that he got in Florida? Because that could come back on Bondi. And the other guy who did it. But yeah, Bondi. She was AG, I think, then in Florida. So could come back on her for that. And that would be a big judgment. So in August, no bueno for Pam. Not a great time. If I were her, I would just go find a hospital in South America and claim that she has to recover there. Because August in the United States for her is going to suck. It's just not going to be good. Okay, next. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. What are we going to do here? Okay, here's a question about Melania and Ivanka. Okay. So let's use these are the ones I want for this. Okay. So the question is, how much does Melania and Ivanka know about Trump and Epstein, and how involved were they? A lot. They were there. Now, Ivanka was hired by the modeling agency owned by, I want to say his name is John Cassavetes, I think. But that was the modeling agency that Ivanka was hired at when she was like 14, 15 years old, like very young. And if you'll recall, that picture that they keep showing all over Midas Touch is the photo of her and Eric on Trump's, kind of on his lap. And then next to them is Epstein. And then I think the guy in the corner who's kind of looking over Epstein's shoulder, I think that might be Cassavetes. But anyway, it's said, but I think by Michael Wolff, that Epstein and Trump went into business together and had modeling agencies, talent agencies, and together, because this went along very well with Epstein's business. And John Cassavetes was someone else that they connected with. I don't know if they had a modeling agency actually with them, but I know that Cassavetes was around at the time that Trump decided to do the beauty pageants, and then ultimately taking the beauty pageants to Moscow. So now, Ivana, there's a good likelihood that Ivana got connected to Trump through maybe Cassavetes, maybe some other modeling agency. But I mean, she was supposedly this Olympic class skier. And I think she did modeling too to pay the bills. And somehow she meets this guy, Trump. Now, that doesn't happen just kind of by kismet, right? Those are arranged, right? Ivanka got the modeling thing definitely through Cassavetes. Melania, I believe, also came through the same, if not Cassavetes, then through one of the modeling talent scout agencies that Epstein and Trump were affiliated with, because Epstein has said many times that the first time that Melania and Trump had relations, we shall say, it was at his house or on his jet or on his yacht or something, but something that he owned. That's where they had their first bumping. So, did they know? Yeah, they had to know. They had to know. They were there. They were both being used by these men as pretty objects. So they knew. They knew very well what was going on. They knew. So, and that's how involved they were. So, will this information from Melania and Ivanka, or both, or one, whatever, will this start to come out in August? What will Ivanka and Melania come into the news in August? What will happen? Let's do Ivanka first. Is Ivanka going to come into the news in August? Kind of a yes/no question. Well, yeah, she is. Ivanka's going to come into the news in August. Yeah, she definitely is. I got the Ace of Cups, a yes card. Okay, so she's coming into the news. Now, what about Melania? Is Melania coming into the news in the month of August? Are we going to hear things about Melania in the month of August? No, not so much. No, Melania is really trying to figure out how to escape, how to get out of here. She really wants to get out of here. And I think she's probably already scouted some sort of property for her and Baron to go to when she sees her moment. I mean, I think both of her parents have passed now. So I think that it's just her and Baron. So as far as the involvement with Epstein, Cassavetes, the modeling agencies, all that stuff, is more information about that going to come into the news in August. So Melania is a Taurus. That would be an earth sign. And Ivanka is a Scorpio. So that's a water sign. Okay. So this is about their legacy. We get the 10 of Grails, which is the 10 of Cups, but it is more, this card, when I first saw it, I'm thinking more about the 10 of Pentacles, their legacy. This is how they began to come into the public and be seen as rich people, right? Because Melania was not rich when she was growing up, but this is what she wanted to be. She wanted to be seen as a very wealthy woman. And Ivanka was raised to believe that she was a very wealthy woman. The 10 of Grails, for the two of them, this is how they got what they wanted. This is how they got their dreams to come true. So I don't think they would willingly want to be putting anything out in the news that would dispute that image. But what crosses them both, or the crosses, I'm using them kind of as a one unit. In this reading, what crosses the 10 of Grails or the 10 of Cups is the devil. And we all know who that is. And in this case, it would be Epstein, Cassavetes, and Trump. They're all the devil. They all used women. They all abused women. They all objectified women to the tune of millions of dollars. And who knows? You know when people are like that, they're most likely pretty abusive. Now, I'm not saying definitively that any of them were abusive, but I would guess that just the mental abuse of what Epstein did was extremely abusive. What Trump does, if you believe Ivana's book, he could also be very mentally abusive. And we've seen him be cruel. He is very, very cruel. I can't speak about Cassavetes, don't know the guy. Now, what's underneath this is the 9 of Knives. That's the 9 of Swords. So This is a nightmare. They are traumatized by what they've been through. They are completely traumatized by what they've been through. And to have that come out in public, yes, it would be a big relief for them, but no, that's not going to please daddy and husband. That's going to make him really mad and unleash his rage. So I don't think they want this to happen, but I think it pretty well might happen. Um, and their challenge is the dumpy and the other men who are so cruel. So okay, so in the past, they just were traumatized by all of this stuff. In the recent past, they have the Three of Scepters, which is the same thing as the Three of Wands. And so we have both of them contemplating their future and contemplating, what do we do now? What do we do now? Belladonna, I'm just going to take your question down so I can show the cards a little easier. Oops, what happened to my mouse here? It's not working. Okay, there we go. All right, so we just have, there we go. You can see a little easier. So the Three of Scepters, you can see the ship in the background. She's holding a staff. She's looking down at, it's not waters. It's more of her gown is there. The waters are behind her, but she's looking to figure out where she should go. What should her strategy be? How can she get out of this? Because I think that both women don't want the traumatization of them as younger women to come out in public now. They're not ready for that. They are traumatized by it, and they were molded by it. Now, what crowns them, the viewpoint of what they think will happen, is they don't think it'll happen. They think this is the Nine of Grails, which is the same as the Nine of Cups, the wish card. They really feel that daddy and husband will protect them. He won't allow these things to come out in the public, and they will not have to relive the trauma, and they will not have to acknowledge the trauma and acknowledge what they have been through. So they both feel they're in denial. They're both in denial. It's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. We're okay. I can just hear the phone calls between them. So what is in the future? The next interaction or the next thing that's going to happen is it's coming out. It's got the Ace of Scepters. So something is definitely coming out in the public about them, about their involvement. It might be one or the other or both. I'm not sure because we're doing both in this reading. But yeah, it's coming out. It's just coming out. It's just what's going to happen. Now, they feel like, they've kind of hidden themselves away and they've protected themselves, and they feel like, they'll continue. They would love to continue to do that. They don't really want to have all this stuff out in the public. And for the most part, they've done a good job. I mean, Melania is really good at cloaking everything. She's very private, and so is Ivanka. So we get the magician here, that both of them are really just really good at hiding things from the public, even though they're so close to the Donald, who is so good at putting things out in the public and manipulating the public perception. He's really good at that, you have to admit. What they are worried about, they're so afraid of this coming out. They don't want this coming out. They would do anything to not have it come out. And what's really going to come out is, this is the Four of Cups or the Four of Grails. You see this? She's giving her blood to the vampire. We have all these creatures in the background. What's that thing there? It's his hand holding up. I can't quite tell what he's holding up. But the creature in the background is yelling. The woman is just, keeled over and allowing her blood to be drunk. So I think that they just both feel powerless in this arrangement to do anything. They are just powerless. Also, I think what that card, if you think about the Rider-Waite Four of Cups, Also, I think that what that card is indicating is that it will come out, it will be horrific for both or either of them, but in general, nobody's going to be very surprised. I think the public is going to be like, yeah, we kind of figured that. I mean, some MAGAs are going to be like, I can't believe that. But I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, God, more shit from this family. More just disgusting, vile, sordid information that nobody really wants to hear about, but it's going to come out. Okay, good question. Thank you so much for that question. I think that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. And sad, really sad for both of them because they can't control what's going to happen to them. All right, so let's see what else we got. Okay. So we're just going to put up Brian's comment here. I think the Scottish people are my favorite people in the entire world. Did you hear they were defecating in each hole of the golf course? Amazing. I'll drink to that. Thank you. Okay. Let's look at while we're talking about that, let's look at, excuse me, why Scotland is allowing him to come to the country. Now, the prime minister or the president, or whoever that head of Scotland is, I'm so sorry, that's so disrespectful, but I just don't know what the office is called. He was very pleased that Donald Trump coming to Scotland was going to place Scotland on the world stage and point a spotlight on them and their wonderful country and all the things that they give to the world. But in general, I guess Scotland is one of those countries where even if you are a convicted felon, you can enter the country. Or maybe it's just that if you're a landowner in Scotland and you're convicted of felons in other countries, you can still come in or something like that. I don't know what the law is, but I hope it isn't that he's just letting him in because he's Donald Trump and it's against their usual laws. I hope that's not what the case is, because I don't want to see DJT getting away with one more thing that he shouldn't get away with. But let's read on that. Why is Scotland letting them in? What are they what are they going to gain? What are they going to get from this? Why is Scotland letting him in? Because there are a lot of protests. And, maybe the Scottish people just enjoy defecating in golf holes. I mean, maybe they just thought of this as an amazing opportunity to do, what would that be? 108 defecations, 36 holes on each golf course, and there's 3 golf courses that they're visiting. So of course he's going to play at each one. 36, 36, 36. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that makes 108 holes. That's actually a really magical number. So that would be kind of cool if Scotland was doing that. Why are they letting him in? Why did they let him come into the country? Is it just because he has those golf courses? Or something else? Because I know that Keir Starmer was planning on going there, but I had not seen that Ursula von der Leyen was it wasn't announced that she was going there, although I'm not surprised that she's going there. But I thought there'd be a lot more people, so maybe there's more people coming to the other golf courses. I don't know. Why did Scotland let him in? Why did they let him do that? Okay, 4 of Wands, 6 of Wands. Well, his mother is Scottish. 9 of Cups. So it was something he really wanted to do. So apparently he kissed up a little bit to that. Mm-hmm. Not too late for him to leave early. Not too late for him to leave early. So, okay. So here's the thing is, yeah, this is supposedly they have some sort of sense of pride that his mother is actually from Scotland. That means something to them, so they want to let him in for that reason. And the Six of Wands on its side just kind of um, verifies that, gives that back. However, he needs to not embarrass them. He needs to make sure that he doesn't do anything while he's there that really makes them look bad or that pisses him off or whatever. So I think he has to be somewhat careful. And I bet they gave him some kind of warnings about that. But because before, like when he went to England, he really dissed the Queen by walking in front of her and not following protocol. I don't think Melania followed the protocol either. So, I mean, they were very disrespectful before. So I bet there was some sort of discussion, at least with his handlers, to make sure that he followed protocol, and he didn't just totally disrupt everything, and he didn't piss everybody off and insult people. Now, in the recent past, he has expressed great love for Scotland, right? Because his mother was from there. And so that was probably his, attempt before he even got there to do some schmoozing, some, smoothing of the feathers and that kind of thing. Now, he thinks that he's going to go there and, I came, I saw, I conquered. He thinks everything's going to go great. He's going to get what he wants, and Scotland's just going to love him for it. So is kind of ignoring the fact that Scotland is allowing him to come there, that he is a convicted felon. He's going to very conveniently just forget all of that, which is not good because I think they really want to make sure that he's going to toe the line and be respectful at least. What's in the future? This is not good at all. It's him, it's the devil. So he is most likely going to do something that they do not like. He's going to do something that they really, really don't like. Or he's going to manipulate them in some way that ultimately embarrasses them, but that they can't do anything about right while he's there. And he's famous for this. He did this all over The Apprentice, and he's done this with statespeople all over his career for the last decade. Now, he thinks, it's just in and out. I'm just going to do a quick trip. I'm going to go in and out of the country and it's going to be fine. Again, we go back to this idea that he just thinks it's going to be kind of a low level trip. For Scotland, this is a big time trip, but for him, he's just like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. They see that he's a star. He's a big famous guy, even if he's not president. So they most likely would have let him come even if he wasn't president this time. What's he worried about? He's worried. Yeah, there's something going on here where he has to be there, because I think that I was thinking that there was going to be these important meetings there, and that he would need to meet with people and talk with people, and that he did not want it announced ahead of time. Probably because of protesting. He didn't want a lot of protesters there. He got them anyway. But that, he wanted to see talks, deals, negotiations come about in addition to opening the golf courses, so that he could justify that it was a state visit. It wasn't just a personal visit for my golf courses. Because then people would really be like, why are you making us pay for it if it's just your personal business? And why are you doing personal business as a president? He just didn't want any of that coming up. But here's the thing, he doesn't care anyway. He's going to make us pay anyway. So I want to throw just a few more cards, because I feel, or maybe I'll just use some of the cards that are already here. I feel that there were supposed to be meetings during this trip, and maybe they haven't occurred yet because it's only Sunday and he's going to be there through Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday. So will his meetings have the desired result? Will he be happy about the meetings? And I also feel, oh, we have the Emperor here. Mm-hmm. See, this is my hunch that, yep, okay, this is what I think is really going to happen sometime. And it may have already happened, but it's most likely going to happen later in the week. I think it's some sort of a handoff. I think there's some kind of a handoff, most likely with the big red country that starts with R. Um, and I think that it was necessary for Dumpy himself to be in Scotland. Not necessarily that he's going to be doing the handoff, but that he picks up whatever is handed off, or that he makes sure that what is dropped off gets picked up by the other party. So I don't think that the conversation with Vanderlein, which was a bit of a surprise, or with Keir Starmer were the real state purposes of this visit. I think they were something to do with a drop of some kind. I mean, Dumpy's been doing all this stuff with crypto, and I think it might be something to do with that. It might be something. It's something to do with underhanded dealings. You can be sure of that. Whether it's to launder money or to get money or to pay off someone or whatever, I don't know. But it's something that he's done before, um, and it has to do with Russia. So that's what I'm going to say about that trip. Okay. So that's where that went. Okay. So that's both by why would Scotland let him in? And, Scotland is an odd place for them to go for this kind of thing. But think about it. It's right there on the ocean. It's a little bit easier for the Russians to get to than the rest of Europe. So it's kind of a good drop point. And but I don't think the Scots were particularly pleased with this arrangement. If they even knew about it, they might not know about it. This might be a surprise to them too. All righty. So what do we have here? Okay, so all right. So I've got to figure out who we should do the last question on. Let me see what else we have here. So people want to know, will we ever know the names of the bad people on Epstein's list? I think that's a good question, but I don't think that we can find the answer to that right now, because I don't think that the arrangements with Ghislaine Maxwell have been settled. I think if promises are made to Ghislaine Maxwell regarding pardons or release or anything like that, I don't think that Dumpy will be in office and able to execute them. So I don't think they'll come to pass. I don't know that they would want to release all the names of the victims if they have them, if that's part of what's in there. That's not fair to the victims. And there's a lot more than just the girls who were trafficked. There could be things that happened to people who worked cleaning the houses. They could have been trafficked in some way, or they could have knowledge of it. So it's not really fair for all of those people's names to come out. As far as rich and wealthy people, their names coming out, if we lived in a perfect world, yes, all these people would be punished. But also, just having your name in a book doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything. So I think a thorough investigation is needed. But I just think that this whole situation is just so messy. And as I said on my last show, Ghislaine Maxwell is not a good person. So she may have her own agenda and her own reasons for letting out this name, but not that name. And I don't think she has any interest in giving out names of victims, but I think that the information that is held by the DOJ certainly contains names of victims. And they've got a lot of victims' testimony too. So it's a very messy situation. It's a huge situation. This is the kind of thing that should be investigated by somebody on the level of a special prosecutor. And the main reason I say that is because there's probably a few of the big names in there that actually didn't do anything terribly wrong. Maybe they got a massage, a mutually agreed upon massage. Maybe they didn't have any kind of do any kind of weird, kinky, act or do anything that was against the desires of the person who did it. Maybe they just stayed over at his house. Maybe they just flew on his plane for a ride. Maybe they didn't have anything to do with all this other stuff. And so I think a bigger investigation is needed. And by the time they get all that done, a lot of these people are going to be dead. They're not even going to be around. And actually, that might be good. That might be the time then to let it out, give some kind of justice to the victims, but I don't know. It's just too messy, I think, for all of this to be resolved. I just don't think it's really going to be a good thing to be resolved. So I think the last thing I want to read on is Vance. This is going to be my last question. And the reason I want to read on Vance, where's my little thing for my... Sorry, I got to turn on my fan. It's really hot. Okay, there it is. Okay, so... All right. So the reason I want to read on Vance is because I want to see in August what's going to come of this whole supposed coup. And, is this going to take place? And yeah, like that. So Vance, had his meeting with Murdoch, and we read on it. We talked about it last week. And I want to see for the month of August, what does this mean for Vance? How is this going to progress? Murdoch is going to live forever. I mean, this guy is, what is he, 94? And he's still making pretty cogent decisions. And he still doesn't like Donald Trump all that much. So I think they've had the information on him about Epstein for a very long time, and they're going to keep putting it out. This helps Vance, but it isn't a reason to make DJT not be president. I don't know what Vance is going to put into the hopper to say he shouldn't be president anymore, I should be. I don't know what he's really planning, but it's some kind of a coup. I think people have tried to say it's going to be a soft coup. So very interesting. So what I want to know, just pure and simple, what is going on for Vance in August, and what is going to happen to him? Now, at another time, we can read about his family, his wife, his kids, that. But tonight, my last question is, what's going to happen to Vance in August? What will be the outcome for Vance in August as far as this coup that he's supposedly planning? Let's see. JD Vance, what's happening for him? Okay. Aha. He starts it out. His situation right now, he does not like, let's get that focused. He does not like what he's being offered. So I think I talked about this before. Murdoch is not terribly impressed with Vance. Most of the United States is not very impressed with Vance. But what Vance is getting from people who want to go along with this is not what he wants to hear. So he doesn't like the way the plan's going. Vance, I think, is going whole hog with Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation, and yet he's not getting the support to really just push Trump out of the way he wants to. Maybe he wants, maybe what he's being offered is something less, like we'll have Trump supposedly hospitalized and you'll be sworn in temporarily. And I don't think Vance wants that. I think Vance wants Trump gone and him to be sworn in as president. And, who knows who would be the vice president? He'd probably pick somebody. Now, what crosses him and what he's going to have a hard time with is the devil. And the devil's on his side because remember, Donald Trump is kind of declining and he's, in cognitive decline, especially. And I think this is the real challenge for Vance, that yes, he's in decline, but he's Donald Trump. He still has a lot to pull. He still has a lot of things that he can pull. He has a lot of power in the public eye and with, social media. He has a lot of power that way. He can sway the public against Vance very easily. He can sway his supporters against him. He can sick Stephen Miller on him or Steve Bannon. I don't know if Steve Bannon is in the Vance camp or not, but the thing that's underneath it is the way that Vance has handled things before, which is the Five of Pentacles. He himself does not feel confident or powerful enough to really do this by himself. He's just not. He's not confident enough. And with this Five of Pentacles, we have Vance coming up poorly, literally poorly. Now, the thing is that Vance himself did not amass a great amount of wealth. He was put in positions to amass wealth by Peter Thiel. So without Peter Thiel being super alongside this thing, and maybe he is, but it's still not giving, they still can't convince people to do what they really want, which is to really get rid of DJT. Now, in the past, what we have is the King of Wands. This is Vance. This is him. So has this movement gone past him? Has this idea of doing the soft coup had its moment and kind of died on the vine? I don't know. He's thinking, yeah, it's going to happen. We're just having a little delay, but it's going to happen. He's got the Sun card here crowning him. So he really believes that it is happening when it's probably not. Probably not happening. The next thing that's going to happen is something quite different that Vance is not anticipating, which is the Ace of Swords, which is something to do with communication or the law. It could be a lawsuit. It could be a subpoena. It could be an investigation. It could be somebody bringing charges against him and removing him from the vice presidency. That could be happening too. This could also be, and I've said this before, military. This could also be military. Do we hear the drum and fife in the background? I do. All right. What he thinks he's the perfect guy for the job. The sad thing about Vance is he really doesn't get it. He really doesn't see that the United States does not see him as the perfect president. He really thinks that eyeliner just makes it for the image. It does not. He doesn't have the right image. And you got to have a lot of things going for you in order to be president. All right. So how others are seeing this is not clear. Very murky. Not clear that things are really going to go the way you want them to go, JD. It's not necessarily in the stars that you are ever going to be president. Very, very murky. What you fear is that people will turn against you. That people will steal the presidency from you the way they stole it from Kamala. That is his fear. Ironic. No? Very ironic. The final outcome. Now, how many times have I seen this card in the last 4 days? Judgment. The Judgment card. So something is coming down on J.D. Vance. Possibly they're booting him out rather than him booting Trump out. Now, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen at the same time that Trump gets booted out too. That's entirely possible. And I've said that before, that his soft coup staging could be the perfect environment and the perfect opportunity for the military to come in and take over everything. So that's a kind of judgment. It's kind of judgment saying, no, you boys didn't do this the right way, so we're going to handle it. And we also get the card for the steel, the election steel here, as his worst fear. Because as people get more and more knowledgeable about this, and this is coming more and more and more to the forefront in the public eye, as people acknowledge this more, this is one of the key pieces that allows the government to come, or the military to come in and kind of take over. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, so that's what we have for tonight. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your questions. They were excellent. Dina DeMambro. Hello, Dina. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I'm very happy to take it. It will help. It will help. It will help. And thank you to everybody who was here. When is my next show? I should know this, and I don't. I wish I did. My next show is the 30th. It is PoliTarology, and I think it is a solo show. I don't think I booked anybody to come in with me. So Wednesday on the 30th, I think it'll be really solo because I don't think Sherry can make it, and my sister will not be making it either. And so I'll be very happy to be taking your questions myself and doing cards on them. And thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the 30th. Thanks, everybody. Bye.